Breaking news today. At least one person is profiting from the Prigozhin Putin squabble. Lukashenko, the strongman of Belarus, is capitalizing on Putin's recent victory over the biggest challenge to his years-long hold on power by playing the role of mediator in an effort to end the mutiny. Belarusian strongman Alexander Lukashenko is well underway on his victory lap after negotiating with Wagner boss Yevgeny Prigozhin to call off his staged rebellion in Russia over the weekend. This is apparently part of a campaign to change his image as a willing puppet of Russian President Vladimir. Regional experts tell the Daily Beast that while Lukashenko's boasting is to be expected, he may not have much time to cash in on the political capital he gained by intervening at the last minute to prevent a major crisis in Russia. Kenneth Yalowitz, a former U.S. ambassador to Belarus, said that Lukashenko would not have dared to say anything like this a couple of years ago, when Lukashenko was on bended knee before Putin. The only reason Lukashenko is making these kinds of statements now is because he thinks Putin is vulnerable. He is merely attempting to enhance his reputation. This seems like typical Lukashenko to me. He's a survivor, he'll do anything to survive, he said. He constantly bobs and weaves in an effort to appear credible. After Prigozhin and his troops began a mutiny in Russia on Friday, Lukashenko and Putin negotiated a ceasefire in exchange for Prigozhin's retreat to Belarus and the withdrawal of his Wagner troops. Prigozhin has arrived in Belarus to begin his exile, but Lukashenko has used the last few days to strut his stuff in a series of remarks, boasting about the successes of his dealmaking and portraying himself as central to the rising tensions. In a recent speech, he played down his importance to the deal and portrayed himself as a humble hero who didn't want any publicity. I decided that it was time to say something, though not everything, on this topic honestly, openly, without hiding anything, Lukashenko reportedly told Belta. The media, especially in Russia, have been praising Belarusians, and that's what pushed me over the edge. If I may be completely frank, I requested that my press secretary contact our major media outlets and request that they refrain from excessively covering this story. I was completely involved in these events, he said. He has also attempted to create the impression that he was indifferent when Putin ordered him to take action. I was informed via the FSB and our State Security Committee, and they said, President Putin has requested a meeting. Okay, he sighed. Lukashenko is not letting any of his efforts go unnoticed. From sensationalizing his phone call with Prigozhin during the height of the negotiations, when Wagner mercenaries were marching just outside Moscow, to calling out infighting between Putin and Prigozhin to painting Putin as a somewhat unwilling negotiator. Former White House Director for Russia and Eastern Europe Matt Dimick speculates that one of his primary objectives is to increase his visibility as a global player. With limited options, he'll make as much hay as he can out of it, Dimick told the Daily Beast. As one observer put it, Putin will play up any opportunity he can get to show he has some statesman-like appeal or that he has some extra worth when it comes to his value to the Kremlin. Former U.S. ambassador to Belarus Yalowitz concurred with the evaluation. He did Putin a favor by taking all these guys in, Yalowitz remarked. To buttress his credentials as a world leader, Lukashenko says, Putin clearly has been weakened on the international stage. Russia and Belarus watchers are scratching their heads over the future of the entire region as cracks appear in Putin's grip on power in the wake of Prigozhin's mutiny and negotiated exile. However, hints as to the future of the Lukashenko-Putin relationship are beginning to emerge from Belarus. Their history together has always been tense. Over the course of several years, the two presidents of Belarus and Russia worked to strengthen financial and military ties between their countries. Despite international outcry in 2020 over Lukashenko's rigged elections in Belarus and his treatment of dissidents, Putin stepped in to support Lukashenko. One thing is certain. Lukashenko's political standing over the past few years has been nothing like his triumphant posturing this week. What Lukashenko plans to accomplish politically in the future is unclear, as is what, if anything, he will ask of Putin. According to Dimick, Lukashenko is only concerned with making it through the next few days and weeks. Lukashenko doesn't intend to develop ties with Prigozhin. Lukashenko will serve as the warden of Belarus, a massive open-air prison, and ensure that Prigozhin remains within the parameters set by the Kremlin. It's unclear how much room Putin has given Lukashenko to boast about the negotiations, or how their power dynamic will change in light of Lukashenko's newfound bravado. "We're talking about two scorpions in a bottle," Yalowitz remarked. "This drama will continue for some time because of that. There are simply too many unanswered questions." However, Yalowitz argues that Putin will only put up with Lukashenko's victory lap for so long. He'll tell Lukashenko how much he appreciates his support. But he has no plans to make Lukashenko a rival or replacement for himself. No way. Since Lukashenko is acting at Putin's direction, his time in the spotlight is likely to be short as well. According to the Kremlin, Lukashenko will follow orders. Putin is probably considering how to limit, restrain, silence, or mitigate Prigozhin right now. Lukashenko will merely be a willing participant, Dimick told the Daily Beast. Lukashenko, despite appearances, is probably keeping an eye on his new mercenary exile for the time being. Concerned that Prigozhin's forces might stage a similar rebellion in Belarus, opposition politicians there have previously told the Daily Beast they are fighting for a democratic country under the rightful winner of the 2020 elections. Following Prigozhin's exile to Belarus, the State Department has made similar suggestions that Lukashenko may soon face his own domestic turbulence. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller told reporters on Tuesday, "We'll see whether it's Wagner forces or whether it's Yevgeny Prigozhin. Certainly he is a destabilizing agent wherever he goes. I'm sure he's concerned, too, wondering if the guy's gonna turn against me," said Yalowitz. "They're just looking at each other, trying to gauge each other's relative strengths and weaknesses.